Hello everybody, and today I'm trying a kind of slightly different video type. Well, I mean, not really, it's still just going to be me talking at you, because that's all I can really produce at the moment. But I want to kind of do I don't want to call it a rant, I think I'm going to call it PoC Waffles On. I like that, I think that's what we're going to do. And the first one I'm going to do is about sport, and it is mainly based on something I saw on my walk to the shop today. So, if this sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. We will be back. Alright, so sport. Sport to me is, and we're talking professional sport, like televised sport. I'm fiddling with things already, stop it. Sport as an activity, as something you do socially, for exercise, whatever the reasons, if you actually personally do it, be it football, rugby, hockey, cycling, whatever the sport is, and whether it's competitive or literally just, mucking around with your friends, to me, that is great. Where sport, and this goes for both real and esports. I just offended a huge amount of people by saying esports aren't real, but I think you get my point. I think it becomes ludicrous, honestly. I think professional sports are ridiculous, mainly because of the amount of money that goes into it that could go to better things. And of course, the weird thing is the amount of money that goes into both football, English football, or soccer, and American football, is that most of these clubs who make all this money make no profit. They are really, really bad business models. But that's not the waffle I want to get on right about now. I think sports should change. I think sports should change to be a retirement-only endeavor. And I'm going to explain my reasons. And again, this comes back to something I saw on my walk to the shop today. And let's start with that story. So, while I was walking to the shop, one of the roads I have to walk along is a fairly long road. And all I could see from when I started walking down, it was coming towards me, was two old blokes on bikes. And I don't know if they were friends, if they were doing it together or whatever, but clearly this cycle must happen fairly often, and there's a competitive edge which has developed between them. And it was fantastic. So there's this one old guy riding along, and then all of a sudden the guy behind, just for whatever reason, I have no idea what the reason was, he starts to put all this effort in. Like, he goes from, just nice out and about cycling, you're keeping the bike going, you got nice posture, you're trying to keep your back straight. So all of a sudden, he's about as up as his seat as he could probably make it. He's pumping his legs, he's really going for it. And just this look of determination. And the guy in front had no idea what was going on behind him. And then the guy behind, I'm going to call him Albert, overtook the guy in front, who I'm going to call Edward. So Albert overtook Edward, and the look of joy on Albert's face was incredible. Like, I don't know. I think I witnessed the end of what was probably a decade-long story of Albert always losing to Edward. But anyway, Albert takes the lead, and the look of joy on his face was infectious. I'm walking along, and they're still fairly distant from me, but I can see the faces quite clearly. And that look of joy on his face made me smile. Like, it was a genuine smile from me. And then I saw Edward behind, a look of pain on his face, like just pure pain and anger and disgust. And suddenly he used this newfound anger, this newfound power, and he started pumping his legs. Like, he's really going for it. And he overtakes Albert. And again, there's a look of joy and a look of disgust, roles reversed. And in about, a stretch of, probably a minute it took for us to kind of catch up. And then they were behind me, so I could no longer see what was going on. This kind of first, second moniker changed places a good 10 times. And it was exciting. Like, it's two old blokes riding bikes, but it's constant change, right? Now, compare that to, say, the Tour de France, which is probably still the biggest cycling race in the world, where for most of the race, there will be a guy in front and the pack will be behind. Now, you may get jostling in the middle and round the back, but right at the front, you don't get a huge amount of jostling in these races. Normally, someone just goes out so far ahead that they're ahead of the pack, they're going to win. You might get the occasional pass, but normally if somebody passes, they pass and they just continue going. And the person they pass just kind of settles in. All right, I may try and do a big push in, say, a couple of hours, but until then, we're just going to stay where we are. That is boring. That is dull, right? For me, anyway. Whereas these two old men managed to do the kind of first, second thing a good, 10 times in the space of a minute. That I would watch. The constant jostling for position, that's what I want to see. So let's talk about, I don't know, like what other sports could we just put old retired people into to see if they would become more fun without getting too ageist, because my mind automatically went to Zimmer frame marathons, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make is that, maybe it's not just because it's not just old people. So like when you go and see amateur sports, so you go and support your friends on Sunday at the local football club or whatever, the games are vastly different. There's normally, so I'm talking about soccer, English football, there's normally a ton more goals, and goals are the exciting part of football. If there's no goals, it's boring. Let's be honest, and there's a reason why most people drink while watching sports. It's because sports are boring, and I may have just blown your mind and blown a hole in your alcoholism, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot more running, there's a lot more passing, and there's a lot more people trying. As soon as you go the professional route, so in the amateur league, okay, yes, they want to win, but they also just want to have fun. So they're willing to take more risks. It's all about fun. There's no big money on the line. There's no contracts on the line. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Winning feels good. As long as you try hard, losing doesn't feel too bad. As soon as you cross the line into we'll pay you money if you start to win, sport loses its soul as far as I'm concerned, because the only thing you're chasing then is the win. And again, I'm going to talk about English football and even cycling and F1 to a certain degree, which are the main sports I watch. And when I say watch, I mean have them on in the background when I'm scrubbing the toilet, because scrubbing the toilet is immensely more pleasurable than watching sports. Everybody becomes very, very defensive, and when you're defensive, you're not having fun. And I think that is the key to sports in general, right? Is you should always put 100%, 110%. I hate that expression. You should always put 100% into what you're doing. And the main point of all of these things is that you should have fun. Even if you have a horrendous defeat, you come against a team who are just immensely better than you. Let's say Amateur Athletics 101 takes on, I don't know, who's a big English football team at the moment? Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, I don't know. Who's winning? God knows. Liverpool? I don't know. Scunthorpe? I honestly don't know. Anyway, I'm just naming various English towns. Downton Abbey. The Downton Abbey football team. That I would watch. Didn't like Downton Abbey, don't really like English football. Put the two together, I think we're on to a winner. Anyway. What was I talking about? Yes, so even as an amateur team, if you go and take on someone like Liverpool, you're going to get your ass kicked, right? Especially if Liverpool puts in 110%. And weirdly, they're more likely to do it. Now, sometimes in the professional stuff, you will get, a high-ranked team against a low-ranked team, and they'll either put out a kind of B team, or they will tell the A team, look, don't risk yourself. You can't risk injury because we need you for the big game. And that, again, kind of loses it, which is a shame. But, you could go down 100 goals against Liverpool being, Amateur Athletic 101, and I think you would still have had a blast, right? You would just remember those times where, I tackled big football star number one, or, do you remember when we got that shot off and it almost went in? And even if you just get the one goal, it could be 100-1. If you get that one goal in, that's what you're going to remember. That's the fun you had. And that's the kind of fun I wish sport was. Just pure joy. And now, obviously, I'm more of a computer game fan. And now, obviously, esports are growing in popularity. And not popularity. Well, yeah, popularity as well. But also commercialism, which is the big issue here, and professionalism, if you like. Whereas there's now big money on esports, and what you're seeing happen to esports is they are becoming dull. They are becoming dull to watch. Commentators, who are one of my biggest bugbears of sports, because if something is fun to watch, you shouldn't need somebody commentating on it. You know, it goes back to the old radio days where you could understand where you needed commentators. And if commentators were optional in the broadcast, which largely they aren't, you know, you either have to turn all sound off, you can't just turn the commentators off, which is how I would prefer to watch these things. I'm getting way off. I believe they're called shouters or casters. I don't know what they're called now, but you know, we call them commentators because they're commentating on what's going on. If you're shouting what's going on, quiet the fuck down. Anyway, what you're seeing in these esports games is people do not play how they want to play. They play to win. And as soon as you've decided you want to play to win, and that's your only goal, yes, everybody plays to win. Even when you go do, let's talk Overwatch, even when you do quick play, Mystery Heroes, whatever it is, of course you want to win. And a run of defeats is soul crushing, especially if they're bad. But here comes the thing, and here comes the main thing I want to point out. When you're playing Overwatch, how many times when you've been playing Overwatch, Mystery Heroes, quick play, whatever it is, and you lose point A, or even worse, you know, you might have a real struggle getting out of your spawn point because of the player composition, and then you see people leaving, people on your team because you're losing, they're leaving, they're done. How sad is that? Because the games I remember most in my Overwatch play sessions, or any of them, you know, battle royales, whatever they are, the games I remember the most are the ones where I was getting my ass kicked, or the team was getting their ass kicked, and somehow we managed to turn it around. Maybe not even to a win, but we somehow managed to do something. You know what I mean? Like you've had soul crushing defense. You're trying to defend the payload, whatever it is, and they've pushed you all the way to the final point within the first 30 seconds. I know, I think that's probably impossible, but you know the point I'm trying to make. But then somehow you manage to hold it 2 inches off the last point for a solid 2 minutes, right? That feels good. Okay, they still managed to get the win because they had 6 minutes on the clock. And, you know, the game was against you, but you put up a solid defense for a good 2 minutes. That feels good. That's the good times in sports. If all you care about is the win, you've lost it. It's already gone. You're not playing the game for fun. You're not playing it for enjoyment. And okay, there's always a difference. When something comes from being a hobby, pastime, to it becoming a career, there's always that kind of the difference, because you got to get paid. You got to pay them bills, and it's the only way you make money. So you have to have a certain attitude adjustment. Or do you? Or is the real point is the reason why you're getting paid to do it is because you were having fun and you were good. So why can't that just be what goes into the professional arena, right? I honestly believe more people would watch esports, sports in general, if people just played it for fun. And you could actually see, like, when you watch these Overwatch leagues, right, how many people are laughing or chatting or having just a good time, the players, or have smiles on their faces when they're playing this game? Or do they all look like they're looking at really boring ass spreadsheets on a 9-to-5 job? I don't want to see someone looking bored out of their mind while they're clicking a game and then, you know, only cheering if they manage to get the win. Where's the cheer where they managed, you know, to do something that they were finding hard to do? It just doesn't happen, and it's such a shame. But anyway, am I suggesting old people should do all sports and esports? Yes. Yes, I am. That's my retirement plan. Maybe. Anyway, that was a waffle. These videos have no point. I'm just going to go off on tangents. You like them or you don't, is all I can say about these kind of PoC Waffles On. If you enjoyed, thank you. If you didn't, I'm sorry. And I will probably, hopefully, see you again in the next one. Bye for now.